build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die.
Hi folks, thanks for joining tonight's Twitter Space. So really, what we're looking for is your views on how things are going at Hibs at the moment. So we recorded our episode on Sunday night. On episodes, if you're a subscriber, you'll have got the extra time as well, where we went into a wee bit more detail on Hibs' record over the last this calendar year. We've only had 4 wins, which was a bit of a shocking stat, really, to get. So we talked about that, and then we talked about recruitment and team selection. Colin, is it you on as well?
I'm here, mate. Aye, how you doing?
Aye, good, mate. How you doing?
All
right. So it was just interesting to see what people think about the points that we raised. I suppose we kind of the big questions we asked was how much blame does the manager take for A, the performance, and B, the sort of state of the club at the minute. How much blame lies at the foot of the recruitment team, and then with the transfer window coming up on Thursday, can we afford to go into Friday with no new faces in the team, like without doing any business? Can we afford not to do it? I don't know. There's a kind of the chat about can we afford to do it because how much money's been spent on the team already this summer, but can we afford not to do it is probably the other question to ask on it. So if you want to speak, there's a wee request button down in the bottom left. If you're on your phone, I don't think it works if you're listening on a laptop. So you just press request and we'll bring you on. We've got a few tweets have come in already just ahead of this. So Colin, I'll just pull a couple of them up and just ask you your views on them that have come up, and then we'll get kicking off with anybody that wants to speak. So Lee said the simple answer is no. Based on previous games, we need more quality in the squad to transition quicker attacks and actually drive forward. Still think we need at least 3 centre forward, centre midfield, and a centre back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we need more than 1 centre back, but yeah, I would agree with the other positions.
Aye, I'm in agreement as well. I think that's it's almost like the least that we need, isn't it? Which is remarkable given the amount of signings that we've made. We've also got from Parmaham 2 says we desperately need to recruit, but who at the club would you trust to recruit? What about that one, Colin?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much say Lee Johnson's got or had so far. I think based on the previous couple of transfer windows, I mean, we obviously sent the slides in on the back of Ron's comments in April to challenge that it wasn't a successful January window.
Yeah,
never heard back on that. This window's not been much better. I know the boys at Down the Slope are doing a programme tomorrow to go through the signings as well. I'm sure that's not going to make great reading for anybody that's been involved in the process so far. So I don't know. I don't know who I would trust. Can I just say one thing as well, though? I said on Monday night, I kind of tarred Joe Tortolano's name, if anybody's listened, and I shouldn't have. I should have said somebody like Ryan McGovern, but I just couldn't get it out on the spot. So just like to clear that up for anybody that's pissed off at me for dragging Joe Tortolano down into that kind of conversation when I just couldn't think of another left back, right? But Ryan McGovern probably fits the argument a lot better than Joe T.
He did better than me because when we spoke about that earlier, I suggested Ryan Maybury, who isn't even, Alan Maybury,
Alan
who isn't
Maybury,
even. Isn't even that
David
position.
Van Zanten, all of these boys. Any fullback then, we'll just not bother for right or left. We had loads of shite fullbacks, but the left one, Ryan McGovern, probably is the pick of the shite there.
Aye, I mean, he was fucking brilliant when he came on loan to you, and then he signed for us permanently, and he was murder. We've got Aaron, who's looking to speak there. Aaron, if you want to bring yourself off mute, mate, and then you can tell us what you think.
You right, lads? You hear me?
Aye, how's it going?
No bad. what I want to say is mainly about Joe Newell, right, for a start. Right, so a lot of Johnson's interviews, I've heard him say this thing where he says it's not about the formation doesn't matter. He says it's about the system, which is supposed to be an attacking, pressing system. Now, for me, every game I've watched Johnny O'Fee's first game, I don't know if you remember, I think he played Stirling and he played left wing. And for me, it was one of the laziest performances I've ever seen. And I always see that for Joe Neal every time he plays. Now, for me, if you're playing a pressing system, you can't have Joe Neal on the team. I think he drags everybody else down. I don't know what you think about that.
Colin, you first. What do you think?
Well, I think I could see he's totally not playing well. He's maybe not the best tackler in the world either. He picks up some stupid fucking bookings. I think when he played left wing, I think he explained that because he was on the podcast. And I'm not giving him any. I'm not talking him up just because he was on the podcast. But when he played left wing, I think he explained it. In England, it's a different game to Scotland. Left wing, you were just expected to ping crosses into the box, whereas in Scotland, it's a bit faster paced and you're up and doing a bit more. So at left wing, it wasn't really his position. I don't think he ever hides or doesn't try. So that's why I give him a bit of leeway. But he doesn't often produce goals, assists, or anything else. And then you've got to ask, so if he's in midfield, what is he there to do? Is he there to create goals, score goals, or stop goals? And I'm not really sure what one it is.
I think the thing is with Joe Neal is I think he gets away with it because technically he's a lot better than a lot of the players in Hibs team.
Yeah.
But so I looked at this because obviously for the first game I seen him, I thought really lazy. I tried to look at stats just to see if it was maybe a bias thing. So last season, leading up to the split, because I think after the split, a lot of teams aren't playing for anything. We picked up on average 0.56 more points with Joe Neal out the team per game. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's a bit like, so if you look at Liverpool when Van Dijk plays, he makes defenders better. I think Joe Neal drags other midfielders down. I think when he's in the team, other players in the midfield have got to do a lot more running to cover for the running that he does in a day, the tracking back.
Yeah, I always think he looks busy. I just don't know what
he
he's
looks
doing.
busy, but I'm not convinced he is busy.
Yeah. Aye, so effective he is. But yeah, like I quite like Joe Neal as a player, right? Totally get the point though, and I think obviously if you've got stats to back it up, which definitely helps. Anything you kind of have in these conversations, if you've got the stats to back up, it always helps. Doesn't it? Make the point.
It was even stats as well because he played 2-11 that he played was against Old Firm, and 4 out of the 22. 4 out of the 22 that he played were against Old Firm, and 2 out of 11 that he didn't play were against Old Firm. So it's not like it's kind of like it's played. He's played shit teams or whatever.
So, I do think him and Doyle Hayes definitely are a combination that we can rely on or trust. I don't know individually what the difference would be if Newell played and what if Doyle Hayes played, how different the team would be in terms of that. Because I'm not convinced on Doyle Hayes, but then I'm now coming around to not being that convinced on Newell either, based on what I've just said about as I say, stopping goals or creating goals or scoring goals. I don't think either of them really do it. Any of the three things.
I think the thing that I see quite a lot is that midfield three doesn't work at Campbell, Doyle, Hayes and Newell, right? So, and I see that a lot and it doesn't work. But I don't think it works because, as I said, I think Doyle Hayes has got to do a lot of running about. And I think even if you look at the stats last season of Doyle Hayes that go about, Doyle Hayes won the ball a lot, he played the ball a lot, he had good pass completion. But if he's doing a lot of running that he shouldn't have today, if he's got no uneven workload, then I think it kind of drags him down a bit. To the point that when McGuinness was in the team, McGuinness is a box to box. That's what he does. He's in both boxes, defending, attacking. So he does. Everybody's running. He's fine to do it, but we've not got anybody else that does that. And if you've not got that, I don't think you can play now.
No, that's interesting. I think it is. We're definitely missing the box to box attacking. Somebody that attacks as well, midfielder. Definitely missing that for the team. 100% agree on that. I never thought about how the impact on others. Yeah.
So actually, defensively, when Newell's playing, we tend to do. We've not been great this year, but it's not like we're conceding tons of goals. And the ironic, can you look at the goals that we've lost, and you can probably pinpoint Newell as being sort of partly culpable for For like the Rangers one, I think he didn't track the runner, and then for St Mirren's one at the weekend, I'm not sure what he was doing. But I think the bigger issue we have with Newell playing and Doyle Hayes, when it's the two of them, is going forward, because they offer nothing in terms of assists and goals. So it's like they're no like a sort of specialist in any one thing. They're just all right. Aaron, what would you think? How much responsibility do you think sits with the manager then, if they're picking them, to find a system that does get the best out of those players?
Well, right now, I think he's kind of limited. Like he's not got a lot of options. The only thing I would say is in the limited time that we've seen Dylan Tate, he seems like the perfect midfielder to slot in his system, and I'm still not quite worked out why he doesn't get the game time.
Why do you think it is?
I've honestly no idea, because I watched him a fair bit when he played in the Championship too, and to me he's confident, he demands the ball, and he's got a hell of a lot of work rate, which to me seems exactly what we're missing for the midfield. Because Campbell's got the work rate, but he's not got the technical ability. Doyle Hayes is, for me, he's got the work rate and the technical ability, but he's maybe lacking a bit of confidence. And then Newell's opposite again, he's got the technical abilities, but he's not got the work rate. I think Dylan Tate's he's got to play.
It's definitely worth a look. Colin, you
box
made
to
the
box?
points. You watched them.
Not necessarily as a box to box, but just somebody that can take the ball. Because I think what a lot of people say with Joe Newell is he can take the ball, right, which is fine. But it's off the ball that I think the issue is. So it's a bit like the Ronaldo thing at Man United now. You know, it's like you might have the ability, but if he's costing you off the ball, then you know what I mean? Because to me, the game's won and lost in midfield, and for years since we lost McGinn, there's been options to replace him. We had Docherty for a while. There was Campbell in the market, which we should have been all out for. There's no a ton of players that can come in and do the workload you need, especially in Scottish football. But I think we've got one sitting in the reserves that if you give him the game time, which we seem to be eager to hand out to other players that probably didn't deserve it, just give him a chance, yeah.
Very interesting, eh? Thanks very much for coming on. I agree, like with the overall point you're making there, and I personally would probably quite like to see Dylan Tate get a chance. He's one of my mates is a Rovers fan, and when we were rumoured to be signing him, I sent him a wee message and just said, "Kid, what's he like?" And he couldn't have sung his praises high enough. And I think at that level, which would have been a year and a half ago now, he was a standout in that Rovers team. So you'd like to think he's developed a bit in that year and a half, and maybe could have, whether it's a physical maturity that he needed, or can he just even technically getting better to fit with the Premiership, that he can't be that far off it in that time. So be interesting to see if he did. Leon, you wanted to speak? You want to come in?
Boys, just want to follow up on what Aaron was saying, that just about the midfield, because for me that seems to be the big issue here. Obviously we're not scoring goals in that, but I think we're losing games in midfield and we're creating chances. The thing that's frustrating me a lot now is how the midfield's having to force us into the play all the time. I feel like 95% of the time they've got the ball and they'll always take that turn back to look to see if Poaches is available. And I ken that works when you're playing lesser teams, because I try to drag them out and pull them out towards us, but I think it's a big detriment to what we're trying to do at times. And at times when they start doing that, I didn't see where the shape is and I didn't see where it's coming from. I think players like Dylan Tate, I think we've just got to forget about him, because there's a reason he's not been in that team. And we didn't ken, because we're not on the training pitch. There's Sean Malone never played him. I mean, who was he? He was chucked right back at home, and Jack Ross. It was Jack Ross when he had him when he brought him in, I'm sure. And now the new manager's not interested in getting a sniff either. So there's clearly something no right there with regards to maybe he's no, maybe they don't think he's up to it. Maybe they think he's going to take a Joe Newell's place or a Jay Doherty's, which they maybe think he's maybe they're more experienced and better players. They're not showing it, but I think we're doing a lot of talking about players that are in the background a lot.
Aye, that always happens.
I think there's a reason.
Players are always better when they're not playing.
Aye, totally. It's always the same. Always the same. You've seen it forever.
But I suppose to turn that around, though, right? You've got we talked about this sort of growing body evidence about Newell, Doyle Hayes, and Campbell, like that. Sort of the three in midfield. nobody in a team, a midfield that can win football matches. So there needs to be a point, surely, where those players' positions are up for grabs, where you have to say, like, it doesn't matter if the boy that's maybe next in line for your shirt isn't quite as good as you, you're not producing, so you lose your place in the team. You have that wee spell out, you maybe sacrifice a game or two with the other guy, just to almost to be saying to Joe Newry, we're going to play Dylan Tate. And if we lose those couple of games, fair enough, but your spot's no guaranteed in the team. So when he comes back in the team, Mackenzie's got to, Mackenzie's position's not safe, he's got to raise his game. I don't know if there's an argument for that, Leon.
Aye, there definitely is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the one thing that I'll never change in football is if there's somebody in behind you and you're not performing, they're going to come and take space. But I don't know if the way they're setting the team up, if Campbell's obviously was in 1 week when Jake Hayes wasn't. I don't know if maybe between the three of them and changing it about a bit, maybe had made an idea of having guys like McGeady playing off a striker rather than wingers and stuff like that. And I don't care if he's just that far down the pecking order that. And the other thing, he's now under pressure. I mean, it's Hibs haven't given any managers any time. So you're in that game, you're in that job, you've got to hit the ground running. And if I don't think you can be in a position to give folk that you think are lesser players a chance, because they'll just it could cost you a job at the end of the day, the way it's working. So there's definitely a fucking massive problem with selection, massive problem, because we've looked. What was it? It's 4 wins in this year or something. I think it was you were saying. So
it's calendar year,
aye. Well, what the fuck? That's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. And for a club of your size, which doesn't always come in there, but definitely should. It's no player should be earning the money they're earning at Hibs and putting having stats like that thrown in their face. Because there's boys in there, like I've said 100 times, there's boys in that 11 on Saturday that would walk into that same man team. They'd have walked into the Livingston team and they'd have walked into fucking nearly every other team on individuals as a signing. Like, imagine St Mirren if they signed a Joe Neal for Hibs on paper. They'd be fucking delighted with that. But he's not doing it. And he's been, you've seen, I like a wee moan about him. Because I remember when his contract was running down and everybody, we were clambering like, shit, he's got to leave us. And he's hitting his form. He was playing really well for us. And he signed his new deal. And it's just, he's no I think he's no went ahead. He's no taking that next level step. And to a player that you'd be like, right, there's going to be folk looking to buy him for us now. He's certainly just dwindled away. I mean, is that a confidence thing? Are they under so much pressure now because Hibs haven't been performing that they can't show what they're all about, and they're just fucking no shitting themselves every week? And again, it's a professional game, so you've got to be on top of it. But I think to themselves, well, can I make this misplaced pass? If I make this misplaced pass and lose a goal, I'm going to get fucking hammered. But I don't know. I can't see a fucking solution now because of the personnel in the midfield. But we need boys in 100%. Like you were saying, you can't double wages. You can't bring in Arne Jennison and keep paying his wage. Can't bring in our top end striker in and paying them the same wages what we're paying fucking Nisbet, because at the end of the day the money's not there. Especially, I think this Boyle thing, they've seen the opportunity, they've brought him in, it's smashed the budget, it's just got rid of the budget. They've probably had a decision to make, thinking how we're going to get the fans on side as well, with everything that's going on, with the League Cup, getting kicked out of the League Cup and stuff. They thought, fuck it, we'll bring Boyle in, Rocky's starting to do alright, McGuinness will be back in a while, Nisbet will be back there for the end of the season, and they'll probably thought, okay, well, let's just roll with this. Unless something bad happens before the window, like somebody offers stupid money for a purchase or that. But I think they've no gambled. I think they've just came out, let's put all fucking fruit in one basket and go for it.
With Boyle, I mean, there's a huge chunk of the budget for what I gather has gone on Boyle, and it's almost impossible to see how it could have happened any other way. Like, I mean, you're looking at a striker that went for £3 million in January, and he's back with us a few months later. So whether it's wages or whether it's money that we've written off that we were expecting for the Saudi team, whose name I can't remember, it's cost us money anyway. Do you know?
And it could be to the detriment of the team overall.
Aye. Aye, but he's a match winner, though, isn't he? I mean, this is the other thing with
No.
Boyle. We've seen it before that he's almost he carried us. If it wasn't for Boyle last season, we would have been very, very close to relegation trouble, I think. So you can understand why they wanted to get him in, and probably why Lee Johnson wanted to get him in as well. Because even when he came in, before we had a sniff of signing Boyle, he was talking about how we were missing him, and he wasn't even at the club last season. Ken Johnson to see how much we relied on Boyle. So
I get the dressing room stuff as well. We're forever seeing him on social media and the good atmosphere he brings, and that'd been a massive hole to fill. I think, but for me, if somebody asks me again, like if we close this window now and say, like, no new players are coming in, but what days I'll take you back, we'll get rid of Boyle, I'll bring in a centre half, I'll bring in a midfielder, and I'll maybe bring in a striker, I'd probably still go with Boyle, genuinely. And I think I would, and I think the squad is strong enough. They're just not performing. I think, and that's then we get that down to the manager. But then let's be honest, he's been in the door 2 minutes. He doesn't ken half these players for Adam. He's got to work out quickly about how he's got to build his system into these players and fit them in. Because we need him to take charge. We need him to be like, okay, make players better, make players perform. And again, we're chucking him out the recruitment, which is fair dues, because some of the players we've brought in are not looking great. But when you look at the lad, Bojan, Ken, didn't mind bringing boys in like that, but got to cost you fuck all to have a look at.
Aye.
But when you think to you, but when we're obviously looking short, and guys like Dodge only performing, who maybe they were thinking, well, Dodge still the ideal. He's looking fit. He's got a pre-season under his belt. He's got to come back firing, and he's no. Again, but then he'll be on a good wage as well. And you can't just keep bringing players in, putting wages on, and then just keep it. And then we'll come at the January window and they'll be asking for more players. And before you can it, you're in fucking serious bother with money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's the
You've
thing.
got to balance it.
So on that point, right? Lee Johnson said we wanted to bring in a couple more ready-made players. It was after the Rangers game, and there was a bit of noise in the following week about players going out. So I think Mitchell was quoted as one that was maybe going out. Tate on loan. The centre half, what's his name? The young lad, McClelland, was talked about going on loan, and Mitchell going out the club as well. Dodge was the other one that was sort of rumoured, although he's sort of said he doesn't care where that rumours come from. Do you think there's like Hibs are trying to move players out, but they're almost too comfortable? They've been given good deals and they want to go.
Definitely. I mean, Lee Johnson came and spoke about the Dodge situation, which I thought was fucking really weird. About he's in love with a girl, she's at college, blah blah blah. At university, doing a law degree. He's nowhere to go anywhere. And the fact he even came and said that in public, that was early doors. It was really weird hearing somebody talking about a player that clearly sounds like he was trying to move on. Listen, fuck it. The guy's got a contract at the end of the day. Okay? He's put the work in. Hibs have offered him a contract. He's accepted it. If he wants to sit on it, it's his right. It's his absolute right. And it's not his
totally.
Princess, yeah. Sorry. And he said, so I think he's like he's one of them that he thinks he's doing his best. He's going to his work every day. He's doing all the running after him. He's doing all the work after him. He's turning up. He's going out the pitch and trying his best. I presume. Nobody's going into a park and no competing. It's just, and you're not built that way as a football player. But I think it's just not working for him. He's struggling. He's come back from his injury, and the team's not playing well as well. Okay, and we're just. It's easy to stand and pick out individual players constantly, individuals. But when the team as a whole isn't performing, that's when you're fucking got to be like, right, these players are only bad players. At one point, these boys have done a job for us. They've got us in a good position before. Okay, maybe it's just going to take time. It's going to be hard. I'm the fucking rant meltdown at the end of the game on Saturday. I was pissed off and came on here and fucking was pissed off with it. And I just think it's like one of them that I think we've got to sit on it, and it's got to be shite if they bring anybody in. But I think getting close to the window, things will start moving a wee bit. Boys ken that they're not going to play and maybe not get as much opportunity. They'll start changing their mind on what they want to do, where they want to go, and then that could move things along. But I mean, as it stands now, we're struggling if the manager doesn't get the players playing. It's
What
not about
I'm
getting
hearing,
boys in.
what I'm hearing from early on is that transfer deadline is going to be exciting as fuck for the Hibs.
I'll not be staying up late this day, I can guarantee you.
No,
Yeah,
There's not even any
you
rumours,
can do
though.
the night feed.
There's not even any rumours, eh?
Nah,
You know what I
there's
mean? It's
none.
not even like we're going to be sitting there clinging on thinking it's going to be a midnight signing and that. There's not even a name linked.
I've always laughed about that. Like some of the folk, I think they'd been happier if Martin Boyle had scarf my VC that a minute past 11 on the last day of the transfer window, like it was a last gasp thing. Folk loved the excitement of it, coming back in the day, and folk loved the excitement of it. Lee Ken's what I'm talking about because he's that guy. But but you know what I mean? And like it's like you get very excited and stuff. And I think sometimes when the clubs do their business early, I'm not saying we're getting greedy, but folk get greedy with it. They're always like, oh, I can get an eye on him, we'll get an eye on him, we'll get an eye on him. But it's I'm not anticipating any excitement. Let's put it that way.
the irony is the best thing probably today is get all your signings in early doors, so you can settle everybody there.
Good time with them, definitely.
Right, choose Leon. I'm going to bring
Right
Jamie in now, and then also we want to hear from folk about your thoughts on the recruitment so far as well. Considering we're lined up on Saturday with, well, at one point in the game in the second half, we had no new signings on the pitch. Nobody that wasn't there last season. So it'd be interesting to hear your views if you want to come on and talk to us about that. But also what you'd like to see between now and Thursday when the transfer window closed. Just hit the wee request button and come on to speak. Jamie, thanks very much for waiting to come on there. If you want to take yourself off mute, mate, and give us your thoughts.
Hi, all right, how you doing?
Good, mate, you?
Hi, sound as a pound. I was just picking up because what Leon was saying there, and it's what a lot of people are saying in terms of Boyle basically spoiling the budget. Now, that will obviously have a massive impact on it, but what worries me more is, had we not brought somebody back in like the shape of Boyle or his quality, what other players we were going to sign? Was it got to be then sparsed out with the money that we were going to pay Boyle and have three other guys who weren't quite going to cut in the league? Where would we have been then? Would the budget have been spent? So, for me, I know they say that it's been the highest transfer fee they've paid. They've not really paid anything, have they? Come on. They've taken him back because they were able to get him without receiving most of the money. Now, obviously, I know that's just hearsay, but they've not paid out a massive amount for him. So the worrying thing for me is that we've blown a huge amount of money on guys who are maybe 2-3 years away from the first team. And how often is this going to keep happening? Ken, everybody's moaning about the recruitment team, but I just can't understand how we can go into this point of the season and we're going to see the window shut and not have a centre half. We've been talking about it for how long? There's at least 6 windows and still nothing happening. It's absolutely crackers, and everybody can see that it's a glaringly obvious position to fill. And it's beyond me. I honestly think that I wasn't sure about the whole nepotism thing before when we had talked about it, but I am now. It's just crackers that are allowing him so much leeway and not a lot of product on the park. He must have got bulleted for less, and quite rightly so.
I think with the where I landed on the Ian Gordon thing, and I think I tried to explain this on the podcast, is you've got all these rumours about him picking the players. I think Tam McManus was talking about sitting on Football Manager and putting in wonder kids, kind of a certain age range, and searching for players that way, right? And you've got Calvin Charlton there, Calvin's good lad, been on the podcast a couple of years ago and kind of cracking episode. Obviously knows his stuff. He's in charge of the analysis on the recruitment. So you've got like a wee team there. You've got Ben Kensall involved, and obviously the manager's said several times that he's got final say on it. So, and they've talked about players that the manager's identified. Irrespective of who's picking the players, the person who's head of recruitment has overall responsibility and accountability for it. And if you're saying that our recruitment isn't good enough, right, and I think it's hard to make a case for it being good enough at this moment in time, although it is early days, that's where the fall guy is, isn't it? Really, like that's the person in charge. It's got to be the one that you say, right, you're overseeing a department that's failing, so you either need to shape up or move on.
Well, that's it. So let's just say that you have a beginning budget. Now, hypothetically speaking, 2 million, right? I mean, I didn't care what the budget is. This is just all, or just guesswork. So if you've got a £2 million budget and you're spending, let's say, hypothetically speaking, you're spending over £1 million of that budget on development guys, and your first team was run ragged last year, whether that be injuries or players that just weren't good enough. I just can't see the logic in what they're trying to do. Now, as a long-term plan, if you've got a development team, I'm all for it. But you've got to be firing on all cylinders, because you didn't score the last couple of last-minute goals during games. You're right down the bottom of the league. You can't. I mean, we've picked up points that we probably shouldn't have done, and it's a worry. I just didn't care where it's gone. And as Colin was just saying there's not even rumours, which is crazy. I just can't wrap my head around what we're doing as a club. Can't wrap my head around it.
Do you think, right, we're maybe misinterpreting what the development team is? There's a risk
Possibly.
that we're all saying the development team are being brought in for being good in a couple of years' time, but there could be players in that development team who are nearly at the first team and they maybe need a couple of months in the development team, and then they start kind of getting integrated in.
Well, who?
I don't care. I'm just asking the question.
That's what I'm saying. So,
it.
I'm just basically saying. So the guys that were picked out that were in the development side were Del Ferrier, and obviously a lot of chat about Dylan Tate. I didn't even think he's in the development squad. He's just basically somebody that's been loaned out. So apart from Del Ferrier, and I'm struggling to actually think who that people have talked about to say this guy's ready for the first team. For anybody that's seen them, I've not heard anything at all that these people are close or even being close to getting into the first team. Even Josh O'Connor, I've heard mixed reports about him. If he was good enough, with the troubles that you've had in striker, he'd already be in the team, even just as a bit part at the moment. But he's not. Or the other laddie, what's his face thingy? Is it Laidlaw? Aye, they're not even anywhere near the first team. We needed like proper pros who were ready to come in and hit the ground running, and it's not happened. And we're regressing badly. And if we go into when does one close? I heard you saying it was Thursday. Is it no the morning?
It's Thursday. They extended. I can't remember. There was like for League Cup games or something like that.
Right.
So
okay.
I checked before we came on.
Right.
Unless Google's wrong, which is obviously
no. I believe you. This isn't
the podcast for facts. So we didn't check in it really. So, but I believe it's Thursday. First is when it closes, either at midnight or 11.
So I just hope it's no like another panic loans, panic buys to kind of try and appease fans. Another Nathan Wood, another Beningame. Well, no Beningame. What's that? Barrigaramama or whatever his name. Come from Motherwell. All these players that just didn't even hit the first team. You're just wasting a wee bit of money on them. You've got to sign something of a bit quality. Even if you are getting a decent enough loan, you would have hoped that they would have, scoped out the loan market, see who was available ready to come in and play. But no, in Hibs, when was the last time we actually had somebody that come in as a loan market and done really well? It's been a while, eh?
Aye, has been. What do you think,
Jamie, as well?
Jamie, I'm interested in
if we're looking at a striker.
Sorry, say that again, Colin.
Just got by the budget. So if we are looking for a striker, they'll just come and blow us out the water with their budget.
But even if you look at Sims, they pulled that right. That lad is doing brilliant. He's doing well at Sunderland as well. They've obviously got their feelers out for the type of player that they want, and we just, I don't know, we just seem to always be a wee bit lacking. The whole thing with Doidge, I mean, I'm fucking sick going over the Doidge scenario. I didn't like him, no, for some time. But if this is the whole point of him, he's got a girlfriend here and all that, I'm not bored if you're a nice guy. If you're playing in my team and you're not doing it, then I couldn't care if you're a nice guy, you've got a bird here or not. I couldn't care less. I want my team to win games.
I think we're all at that stage. Yeah. It's like it's good if you can win games and be a nice guy, brilliant. But do the winning games bit first.
I know. Exactly. That's the whole point of it, isn't it? Ken, it's no fucking. It's no a difficult scenario. You want to go out and win games, and we just didn't even look like really scoring many goals. Had it not been for Boyle, I didn't care where we'd be, to be honest with you. And as I say, looks a decent player, but That was an absolute sitter on Saturday. An
Aye,
absolute sitter. Aye. I mean, Dave Graham would have scored that one, and that's telling you something.
It's funny in a way because we've brought in, if you look at Melkerson as well, brought in a lot of fanfare and initially looked decent, but he's missed a couple of sitters as well. They played the last season. It's like we've got a real issue with scoring goals now. So, Jamie, if you get the call this morning and it's Ron Gordon, he says, Jamie, won't you come in and just troubleshoot the club? What's the first thing you focus on?
Yeah, definitely the recruitment team. You've got to get somebody in who knows like the game. I didn't just mean the Scottish game. I just mean the game, because it seems to me like I mean, I ken people have a laugh and say about the football manager thing and just hitting on stats and something like that, but it does seem random. I mean, we seem to be travelling the globe, but not really picking out anyone that you're saying, actually, they're shit hot. I mean, all of them, Melkerson, Jair, Del Ferrier, Ken, it's not one of them as anybody went, by the way, they're players. So what's wrong when he was moaning about, moaning, one of the reasons Dal Thomason didn't get the job was because he didn't ken the British market. So where does that shout even come from? Because at the end of the day, we've not really been scoping the British market. And the guy's done absolutely outstanding at Blackburn. I'm not saying he would have taken a job, but then he come out with bullshit excuses that was the case. When really, it looks like a wee bit of nepotism there. That if he was maybe prepared to take the job, Ian Gordon would have been out his arse. That's my view it. That's how it kind of looked to me in the background. So if he's still to remain in that job, get somebody to help him who knows what they're doing.
Colin, what do you think?
It does seem like, well, it's all point in that way, isn't it? You know, there's no evidence to say it's working. So I do think, though, I mean, I had a rant on the extra time bit on Monday, but the players are just avoiding all responsibility on here as well. It's like they're all grown men. Like there's no laddies in that team. They're all in their mid-20s and even older, and nobody's really pointing the finger at them for no turning it around. It's just like, we'll just replace them. Can't you always just replace them? Need them to take a bit of responsibility for it to be coached better or not. And we're just avoiding that and going, we'll just fucking buy new ones. So we've not got the money to buy new ones.
Aye.
We need to make what we've got better. And they need to help themselves be better or not.
Aye, I mean, I think definitely the things that the failings we've had in some of the games this season and first half against Livingston, I think we just didn't compete at all. And that for me is always on the players. Like, if you can't even bother turning up, doesn't matter how good your manager is. The manager shouldn't be having to kind of give you a big fucking Braveheart speech before every game to get you up for it. You need to have that sort of natural will to win and know that everything you're putting on the shirt and going on the pitch, that you've got a fight on your hands. And that Livy game, we didn't have it. And St Mirren, we didn't have it. St Mirren outfought us and then just obviously relied on us being shite to see how to win. So I totally agree with you, Colin. I thought it was a cracking point you made on extra time as well. We'll smoke up your ass, but I thought it was a really sort of...
I need it every now and again to keep me motivated. You're doing the right things. Maybe Lee Johnson needs to take a tip at you.
Just to get you going. We've got Dougie on as well. Dougie, you want to give us your thoughts, mate?
See, just on the training thing, our players are getting injured loads, and is the training too much? Like, what is going on in the training? Like, Dabrowski and Rocky are both out for months for a training incident. I don't think that should be happening.
So I suppose it's a fair enough question to ask, I think, right? And Colin, you've played sport at a higher level than me, so maybe kind of lean on you here for it. I would say, see if it was like an issue with the training, you would see a lot of the similar types of injuries. So say like they were, and I don't care what I'm talking about here, but this is just my hypothesis on it. If you were doing too much running, or running too fast or not doing enough in the warm-up or whatever, you start to see loads of folk with hamstrings or groin strains or things like that are associated to it. I think the injuries that we've had have been generally like contact injuries, which you can't do much about. It's like if somebody's going into a tackle or if they've put their foot down and planted it funny and gone over on their ankle and that kind of thing, which could happen no matter how you train. Colin, you've done more training than I have. What do you think about Dougie's point?
How often are they training like? Is it not just once a day like every other team does? You know what I mean? It's just... I think it's just bad luck rather than anything else. I mean, it's no injuries like... What are the injuries? Like, one was a collision. Well, if we didn't train, you wouldn't get the collision, but if we didn't train, we'd be moaning they weren't fit enough. Or they weren't practising. So you've got to find the balance, right? I think they should be doing more fucking training the way they're playing. That should be the punishment. But if it's all like muscular injuries and that, then you could point to it and say they're doing too much sprinting or whatever. Like they're no recovering enough because they're overtraining. But these are, as you say, injuries where they're doing what we would expect them to do. So like somebody's presumably ran into Dabrowski at training and fucking ruined his shoulder, and Rocky's rolled his ankle. It's because they're playing football. If it was all hamstrings, groin strains, calves and that, it's because they're overworked. But I don't think that's the case here. I'm not saying they're unfit because they've played to the last whistle in 3 of the matches, haven't they, and got 8 late goals. But
they
need to be working on something more in training. Maybe no fitness though.
What do you think, Dougie? So I think there's always like that wee line of thought as well that you should train how you play. Like the elite athletes and elite players train as they play. So that kind of sets like a high standard. But through that, you're going to have sort of physical encounters and that. Do you think it should be a case that they go softer? Go softer. That's I don't mean that in like a rude way. Do you think they should go easier in training to avoid it, or do you think it's important that they train at the same intensity that they want to play?
Well, if they're going full on blown into someone that's going to do something, damage a goalkeeper's shoulder, I don't think you should be going that hard. I get that you need like training to play to build up your fitness, but that's just...
Do you play, Dougie? Do you play football?
Yeah.
And what you tell about going into a 50-50, what do they say to you?
In that game you need to go full blown into it, but in training our coaches always tell us to watch each other.
Do they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
AKA Rab has tweeted in just to join us, part saying about training. It happened loads at Leeds when Bielsa came in and the players weren't used to high intensity sessions.
Actually, I think they had.
You're saying it happened at first, but then it pays off in the end, hopefully.
I think with Bielsa, what we were saying, it was loads of similar types of injuries, like the muscular ones that just the players' bodies weren't used to it, so they start doing something different, and then they start picking up the injuries. Leon, you got your hand up, so what I'll do is I'll get your point, and then Dougie, I'll come back to you and just ask you your views on the recruitment, if that's all right. So, Leon, you want to come in for a wee second, and I'll come back to Dougie.
I was just dead on the injury thing. I think we have just had a bit of a bad, unlucky spell. It's not been training, it's been in games and people breaking down the previous injuries that have maybe just not worked back. And I think a lot of this stuff with the collisions and that, it's, if they're training high intensity, which they're wanting it to be, that's going to happen. You're going to get it. And we've just seen with Hearts, they've had 2 or 3 players just been confirmed to be long-term injuries, and I think they went through a spell where they never had any. They hardly had any players injured, and that's what happens. And sometimes the teams that do well are the guys that are always have got the squads that are fully fit and they didn't have the big long-term injuries, have some odd wee niggles in that. And I think it's just fucking lucky. I think it's just one of these things. And everybody's body is different as well, so you can't have somebody on a fucking training pitch saying that you didn't tackle hard, you tackle hard because you need to, or you. And again, Dougie was bang on what he was saying about the training, like, because we used to get told that day, like, again, used to do a bit of football after a training session, and you'd be like, sometimes it would get a bit heated, and folk would be told to calm down a wee bit, again, leaving the fit in and things like that against your teammates at times, because it's sometimes got that competitive, and I get that. But they'll ken what a fucking hard tackle is, and they'll ken what a fair tackle is, You know what I mean? So that you'll find that it's just lucky. I think we'll just had a bit of bad spell.
Aye. Things are Tuesday on. I tell you that the Hearts injury list, that's fair restored my faith in voodoo. Anyway, right, Dougie, I was just coming back to you then. What do you think of the recruitment position, and what do we need for before Thursday?
What we need and what we get is very much different, to be honest. I don't think Ian Gordon knows anything. I don't know. He's saying about, as you said, about the UK market, but then he goes and signs Momo Dobojang like he knows what Scottish football is. Like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Do you think... so Hibs have never really gone out to those markets, right? And there's always that question about, what is it, if you do the same thing, you get the same results. And the point that Ron Gordon made when he was on... Was it on the Zoom I was calling, where he said about you're shopping in a small pool in Britain, and because of the size of club Hibs we didn't get the best players because they go to the bigger clubs, so we need to go looking elsewhere to try and get the best gins. So
I can't remember if he said that or not.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I made that up. I'm sure he said something along those lines, but my memory is no the best. Are you against the idea of having like a sort of a creative approach to scouting or signing players? Would you rather we went for the tried and tested in the British market?
I think a bit of both makes a good team. To be honest, I get you don't want to get all basic players, and you want to look at youngsters from abroad and like Tavares, like skillful players. But at the same time, you can't get all of them. You just can't.
So you just need that balance.
Yeah, I think the balance is what we need, to be honest. I also think for as long as we've only got Doidge as our only option, we should play two up front with Ewan and Boyle, to be honest.
And just drop Doidge altogether.
Yeah, because I can't watch Doidge play Soul Striker again. It's hard to watch.
It's hard going now, isn't it? Like I say, I should have trying his best, but it's just not working for him right now, is it? All right, thanks to get. If we're almost at the time, so if you want to speak, just hit the request button, and we'll bring in Aaron. You put your hand up if you want to come in, and then Colin, once Aaron's made this point, you want to run through some of the tweets that have come in while we've been on.
Yeah.
Right, so Aaron, you go, and then we'll go to Colin.
So you said there we've not had a lot of players linked. There's a player that I think we could probably get on loan. I know there's a section of the fan base that didn't like dealing with the Old Firm, but I think we're badly lacking a CB that can give us a threat at a corner, a set piece. And I think the Katic at Rangers is probably available for free.
What makes you say that, mate?
Well, because he's obviously not on the bench for them. He's not getting any game time. He didn't get signed for a transfer fee when he's loaned out last season. And to me, we've not done aerial threat set pieces since Darren McGregor was in the team week in, week out.
Porteous used to score Rexy goals for the youth team as well. And
but he has looked a threat.
Nah, I agree.
Catch is a good shout. That's no one that I'd thought of. And kudos to you, Aaron, because most of the time when folks say who would like,
they say Jason Kerr and Liam Lindsay, but they're on budget.
You get that, or you didn't care if it's me that gets asked. I never care who to say it. Like, fuck, I don't care enough about other teams. So, fair play. I think that's a good shout.
But to me, he's a good defender, and he offers you a threat in the opposing box. And I think if Rangers didn't have any suitors, they'd probably be quite happy gain him to one of their teams to take points of Celtic. And we badly need a centre half that can defend and can offer you something else going forward. So,
aye, because their defence is struggling now. The defender on Saturday was fucking comical at times. It was sitting at home watching it through my fingers. You're looking at it going, fuck, now these are professionals. What they did, experienced players there, and they're all over the shop. All right, cheers, Aaron. Colin, do you want to go to the tweets? And again, if anybody wants to come in before we wrap up, talk about the recruitment or anything else to do with Hibs or the podcast as well, any of the points that were brought up on the podcast this week, just hit the request button and we'll bring you in before we wrap up. Over to you, Colin.
So just some comments then. Charlie Mulgrew thinks you made it up. He thinks we're all a wee bit, we've all got a wee bit of PTSD with the last three managers, thinks that Lee Johnson will come good. Player-wise, thinks we need a good outfield captain, preferably a centre-back. Liam H, we need to play Tavares, Melkerson, Kenna, Bojan, and let's see if they're any good. Or good enough, sorry, as he puts it. Team on Saturday was worse than last year. Marshall and Ewan aside, that team was the same as last year, minus Josh Doig. Ian T, are we at a potential tipping point with a bit of bloodletting on the cards from the support? Is that the circumstance? We bring in the developing players, or players still finding their feet in the Scottish game to varying degrees. And Lee said way back at the start, actually, about the three of them, as in the three midfielders, are similar players. Mix it up, and Newell or even the other two become more effective None are good enough to go forward and press. Lee says also that Jamie was bang on the money. The first team has to be the priority. And Ian again, does Keane, as in Steve Keane, have input into fast tracking the development team into the first team? We don't know any of that, do we? We just kind of, we didn't get hear any of that stuff. We just get told the recruitment's good when we ask.
Aye, interesting one with Keane, because I think his remit was to sort of smooth that transition from youth players through development team into the first team. So you would like to think he'd be having dialogue with Lee Johnson. I'm 99.9% certain that they'll have these conversations to say this boy's ready and that boy's not ready, do you know? Because otherwise, what's the point in being there?
Yeah, you'd imagine that's the case, but who knows, man.
Ian's point about the tipping point and the PTSD. There was for the last managers. I can't remember. That was Charlie Mulgrew thinks he made it up. I think they're spot on. I think they were at a tipping point. I think Saturday. Speaking personally, Saturday was the most annoyed I've been at how we've been playing for since the last time we got beaten off for ages, because it was the same, and it was like how can we possibly be at this point and it'd be the same as last season? It just infuriated me, and I thought it's either bad management by the team manager, bad management by the recruitment manager, or bad management by the club manager, the overall owner or the chief exec, whatever. At some point, there somebody's got to be looking at their brain and saying, how could we have spent all this money and be putting out the same team as we put out last season and getting the same results as we got last season?
Yeah,
that was a tipping point for me where I was like, I just lose patience with it, and it has to be better. And where does the optimism come from that the rest of the season is going to be better if we're not bringing anybody else in, and the boys that we've brought in aren't good enough to impact that team? It's not even like they can't get into a good team; they can't get into a shite team.
Mm-hmm. So what do we do then? Do we just promote his laddie to a different job and get a director of football in? Right. So saving face. He gets the chief financial officer job or something.
Or he stays in a recruitment role, but he reports into a director of football, so somebody's then overseeing what he's doing.
Yeah, that would be the motion, though, wouldn't it? He would need to be given
a better job.
Aye.
Well, you give better jobs to folk who are successful in the jobs that they're in, the way.
It's always like that.
Well, no, it doesn't.
We work for enough companies now, don't we know?
True story.
Yeah.
Dougie, you got your hand up, so we'll make this, I think, the last point. If you want to come on and tell us what you're thinking, and then we'll get wrapped up.
See, when I watched the Ron Gordon podcast, I don't think he knows what he's on about either, to be honest. He didn't know the public in contract situation, which I think is ridiculous considering it's your player. I don't know if you heard about that, when it was like, oh, well, we got the offer in and we thought it was better for both parties to leave. And then he got informed later on that it was because he played, or something about the amount of games he played, that his contract got triggered or whatever.
Aye, so I think for that, right, and so if I speak about my experience at my work, right, so I have like a relatively senior position in the job that I do, and I reckon...
Oh, listen to you.
Okay, I'm talking about the podcast here. I'm talking about my actual day job, right?
Billy Big Boss.
I'm in charge of the podcast, right? I reckon what Colin's doing day to day. You tell me how much I'm in charge of things. I'm just chasing my dog who's had a tea towel while I've been looking. Aye, but I reckon the minute detail what everybody's doing, so the contracts or salaries or things that I wouldn't necessarily ken salaries everybody that I was working with, even if they had the kind of reporting line into me, I ken overall budget and all that kind of thing, but no of that detail what person per person was. So I probably wouldn't expect Ron Gordon to know off the top of his head what happened with that one player. I'd expect Ben Kenzel to know, because he should have that line of dialogue with Lee Johnson or Sean Maloney or whoever the kind of manager was at the time. That's the folk I would expect to kind of be that part, that deal with the contracts. Above that level, I think that I would understand why Ron Gordon wouldn't have kenned specifically what happened there. Okay, Colin, what do you think about
Aye, probably some sense in that. I would have, where I would agree with Dougie is that I would have thought he might have looked it up before he came on. He must have he must have prepped for what he's got to
that? Well, that's true.
So that's where I failed in, because I would certainly prepare for what am I going to get asked here. And he must have, because I mean, sure, he was meeting the journalists before he was on the phone with us. And they were looking for any embarrassing story at the point, weren't they, about how Hibs have fucked it up again.
Aye, I remember. So it was just that the day after the Rocky situation as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit time.
Fun times, eh? Right, Dougie, good point. Thanks for coming on and making it. Right, that's us pretty much kind of finished up. If you've not listened to the episode yet, please do go and have a listen. It's on all the good podcast players and some of the shit ones. We're also on YouTube. With our YouTube channel, you just look up Longbangers Hibs podcast and you'll find us there. If you want to watch instead of listen, they came by, you would want to watch, because I've seen the Nick of me, Colin and John. No offence, Colin. But you can, we're told, is a challenging wank. But doable was the other thing. That was the caveat there. Challenging, but doable. You can get through on it. You do need the full length of the video, so watch it to the end. If you didn't mind, the other thing that we do is tell people about the spaces if you think these are good, and if you want to get involved, come on. But tell folk about them as well. So the more folk kind of join in, the better they get as we go on. So we're still fairly new to it, and the more practice we get, the better these things get as well. So if you could do that for us, that's fine. You can also subscribe longbangers.hubwave.net. If you go in there, it's £3 a month. You get loads of extra content. Discounts on our live show tickets, and we've got a live show coming out 21st of October at Easter Road Stadium, so watch out for that as well. Tickets are on sale now. Just DM us if you're interested in coming along. It'll be short bangers, so Hibs chat will be kind of limited on it. It will be dad jokes and confused faces mostly. Anyway, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you later on. Cheers.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee.